let's talk about growing up. It's hard. Okay. First, let's clarify. Yes, this is still one of my HP with a BA videos, and the chapters I'm looking at are Snape's Grudge and the Quidditch Final. Which, on the surface, don't seem to have a whole lot to do with each other. In the first one, of course, we get Harry sneaking out, Harry getting caught, and Snape being Snape. And then, of course, the second one, we have... Well, before we get to the Quidditch, we have the fact that Buckbeak's gonna die. And suddenly, everyone here has got to get a whole lot older. Like, really, these guys are 13? But this is the age that they need to start growing up, and what we're actually seeing between these two chapters is how each of them is moving forward from here, and some of the really important lessons that each of them need to learn. For Harry, it is this balancing act of accepting things that he doesn't want to hear and still fighting for what he deems important. For Hermione, it's letting go of a whole lot of things, and for Ron, it's buckling down and getting things done. I think we'll leave Harry to the end, because Harry, in this moment, is one of the more complicated ones. I mean, everyone's complicated, but Harry is certainly... Yeah, we'll end with Harry. We'll come back to Harry. Hermione, at this point in time, has been very lonely, because she has stuck to her guns on a whole lot of things, and it's really rubbed both Ron and Harry the wrong way. And Hagrid's not afraid to point out to Ron and Harry that they're at fault here as well. They really did put a broomstick and a rat before their friend, and that's not an okay thing. But what we're also seeing with Hermione again is the fact that she is not willing to let any of this go, even when that would solve a lot of problems for her in the long run. Like, she insisted on reporting the broom. She threatens to report the map, and it just becomes a cycle of... There's a point in time where you can no longer do anything without causing more damage. You are going to have to let Harry and Ron get burned by the fire before they figure this out. She's trying to play the helicopter parent, and because of it, she's actually losing friendship here. She's trying to say, you know what, I know what's best, and I will save you from yourselves, even if it means that you hate me. And that's not what she can do. And while we don't necessarily see her... She at least gets it within these chapters, because she apologizes at least about Scabbers. And we're gonna have to see if she does grow out of this helicopter parenting. Because what she does grow out of is this complete trap she's placed herself in which the rules and her work are all that matters. And we're gonna see this actually as a major problem for her, because this is what becomes her Bogart, is her failure to live up to the standards that she is holding herself to. But we're actually seeing her to start at least letting go of these standards for a little bit. She hits Malfoy, and that's against the rules. Like, you can't assault one of your fellow students. But again, she's figuring out, you know what? There are some things worth fighting for. And the fact that you are laughing at the loss of a life, that's one of them. Her walking out of divination. Again, that is her saying, you know what? I thought all classes were important, but this is it for me. Again, it's this question of a human life. Because even if Trelawney and her students aren't laughing at the possibility of loss for Harry, they're using it as a spectacle. It's become the show for them to look at, and Hermione's saying, no, enough. Enough with this Grim. Enough with taking this as your moment to shine. You were tormenting Harry in this moment by being so utterly focused on the possibility that he's going to die. That doesn't work well. You see how it's affecting him when he wakes up after his nightmares, and all he's thinking is, please, please not the Grim. Please, I can't handle this right now. That's not just because he saw the Grim in the previous Quidditch game, or even far as back. It's because this idea of the Grim as this sign that he is going to die has been drilled into him because of this one class. And Hermione says, you know what, no. We're done. You can't keep doing this. And she walks away. Hermione in that moment is growing up and recognizing that there are things that are more important than her classes and the rules. But that's still going to haunt her. That's still going to be her Bogart. Ron is almost the opposite. He's growing up with this recognition that sometimes him having fun is not the most important thing here. Sometimes his rat is not the most important thing here. It's the life of Buckbeak, who he said he would help, and then he dropped it because of a broom and a rat. He dropped it for a fun sport and his pet. And suddenly it's all coming back to him, and he realizes, you know what, no, I need to just buckle down and do some work. He doesn't do this for any of his classes because he hasn't deemed that important enough. But again, when it comes to lives, these kids are growing up. And Ron says, you know what, no, I recognize that Hermione and Harry are in positions where they can't do something, but I can. I can. And he does. He does it for the small things. He bursts into Snape's office. We know all these Gryffindors are terrified of Snape. It's not just Neville. Like, none of them want to interact with this man. And Ron goes barreling in to take it because of his friend. He buckles down and starts doing research because of Buckbeak. He can appreciate when Hermione is starting to come out of her shell. But he's also growing himself. He's not going to watch these two walk ahead without him. But again, looking forward, that might be a serious fear of his. Specifically, again, if we look forward, we can actually see a lot of these problems in the exam and Defense Against the Dark Out. Ron is led astray, and Hermione fails with the Bogart. But they're making steps to improve themselves. They're recognizing they can't stay the way they are. They need to grow or they will be destroyed. And that's where Snape's grudge plays a part for Harry. Because the reason why Harry's sort of the really complicated one here is it's not just his group of friends. It's actually Snape and Lupin being involved in this moment. The reason I decided to talk about growing up in this set of chapters in particular is because Lupin, when he says that he's going to take the map and he's disappointed that Harry didn't give it up before, admits that the makers of the map would want to lead him out of the school because they would think it was funny. Lupin looks back on himself and his friends as students and recognizes that they made wrong choices. They found things that were not funny. They were like Malfoy. Lupin can recognize, at least in part, his own responsibility for making Snape the way he is. But it's not just him. Snape becomes a warning to Harry to not refuse to see the world in any way but his own. And Harry fights against this at first because my father did not strut. Harry, you don't know that. You hardly know anything about your parents. But he wants to go to the defense. He wants to think that they wouldn't have been possible. But the thing is, the arrogance that Snape accuses James of having, which I fully believe James had, and also accuses Harry of having, Snape demonstrates some of that himself. When he demands the map to show himself, he calls himself the master of this school. That's an odd choice of words. Snape thinks he's got it all figured out, and he's not backing down away from it. Snape grew up to be the thing that he admits to despising. This arrogant man with a big head, who rules don't directly apply to him, because the couple of times where we've seen Snape take Harry and his friends to his office, Snape is trying to circumvent the rules on that one. He is not Harry's head of house, that is McGonagall. He is also not the headmaster of the school, that is Dumbledore. For some of these, Snape shouldn't be stepping in where he is, but he's doing it because he wants to get revenge. So he places himself and his own needs above the rule of the school. Oh, does that sound like somebody? Womp womp. Gee, Snape, you're sounding a whole lot like James. So what we're actually having with Harry here is this moment of almost choice. He could choose to stick to his guns and become like Snape, or he can choose to recognize that other people are not infallible. They are flawed and they make mistakes, and he can become more like Lupin, who can look back and say, you know what, no. We were bullies and we were wrong. So what Harry actually demonstrates for growing up, because we haven't quite seen this acceptance, at least, of his parents' choices. And eventually we are going to have to address that. But what we actually see is Harry's recognition now that he cannot purely just exist without focusing on the world around him. And we see this through Quidditch. Because Harry is told, do not catch the snitch until we are 50 points ahead. Suddenly Harry can't even just do his job. He must be aware how it affects everything else. Because some people, you might know people like this, like at work or at school, who just get so focused on, this is the thing that I have to do, that they'll do it even if, honestly, the best thing to do would be to help the person sitting next to you. I'm going to get this section of the project done. Yeah, that's not helpful if we don't get these first 3 sections done, and we could really use your help over here. Harry is starting to recognize that he is not an island. He is connected to everybody else, including maybe some people he doesn't want to be connected to. And we actually see a very direct image of this in Draco grabbing hold of his broom. These two boys are now connected in their animosity. And Harry now has to be aware that every move he makes is going to affect the game as a whole. And he's growing up into that. We haven't seen him being told, don't get the snitch right away. In fact, we've always been told, get the snitch, you have to get the snitch. Which he does. But now he has to wait. And do it at the right time. This is him getting older. Actions are important, but not if you do the right action at the wrong time. These kids are growing up. And we're growing up with them. Okay, so I apologize for no video last week. I was both ill and in the middle of some very awkward things. But I'm back on schedule and we'll keep going. I'm hoping, right now it's looking like I might be in Ontario starting at the end of April. So schedule uploads might have to change at that point in time simply because I won't have as easy access to the internet. But I will figure that out moving forward and I will let you know. Certainly if I am going to have to change the schedule or go on a hiatus of any sort, I will aim to get Prisoner of Azkaban done and all those videos uploaded. That way, if there is a break, it will be between books. Okay? So I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you guys do too. Bye!